All right, guys, we got a long one or a lot of scripture planned out for today. Yesterday, I did not do a video. I had a pretty busy one, and I just kind of didn't get around to it. Had to write an essay. Did a live stream. I guess I did a video yesterday, but I didn't do one of these things. So today we are reading 111 verses. Holy shnikes! So it's going to be Genesis 22, 23, and 24. And the reason I'm doing that, A, I missed yesterday. B, they got the potential sacrifice or the almost sacrifice of Isaac. And then in the next chapter, Sarah, his mother, dies. And then in the next chapter, he meets Rebecca. Right, yeah, Rachel and Leah is Jacob. Rebecca is Isaac. And at the end of chapter 24, it says something that kind of sums it all up. And I just found it to be very interesting. I found it to be interesting for several years since I reread this. I have no idea how many times I've read Genesis, but not enough to remember the whole thing. I'll tell you that right now. So I'm not going to provide too many thoughts, but with me and interrupting myself, who knows? Sometimes I just can't. I just don't know what to do with myself. Okay. All right. So this is one of the most epic, well-known stories, well-known passages of the Bible, but this is the sacrifice of Isaac. So Genesis 22, 23, and 24 from the English Standard Version. I'm using Blue Letter Bible, by the way, if you guys want to follow along. Me and my mom, we read the Bible together over the phone sometimes in the morning. And the other day, we realized we were using two different versions of the English Standard Version because of a thing that was in Genesis 3. And we're like, what's going on here? It's the English ESV, but I think I'm using like the 2008 and like the real one. But hers, I don't know. I think hers is like 2016, but the word that was mentioned in hers, I actually agree with more. Not that it's just more descriptive. Who am I talking about? 2011 or 2008 or 2006 English Standard Version. Got to use I'm learning how to cite things correctly. Anyway, just being a goofball. Genesis 22. After these things, God tested Abraham and said to him, Abraham, and he said, here I am. He said, take your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you. So Abraham rose early in the morning, and this is the Mount Calvary, right? This is where Christ was crucified, right? One of the mountains of which I shall tell you. So Abraham rose early in the morning, saddled his donkey, and took two of his young men with him, and his son Isaac. And he cut the wood for the burnt offering, and arose and went to the place of which God had told him. On the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place from afar. Then Abraham said to his young men, stay here with the donkey. I and the boy will go over there and worship and come back to you. And come again to you. So he knew they were going to come back. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son. And he took in his hand the fire and the knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac said to his father Abraham, my father. And he said, here I am, my son. He said, behold, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? Abraham said, God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son. So they went both of them together. When they came to the place, man, this is just so harrowing, or whatever the word, I don't know if that's the right word, just to think of that, the interaction, and Isaac was not a young boy. I mean, he was a man. And he's just asking him what's going on. But he knew, other things were mentioned, I'm sure. And there was teaching along the way. That's the other thing that I think is, if you could sum up what could be missed so easily about the Bible, especially the Old Testament, I guess the New Testament too, but there's so much teaching in the New Testament. But in the Old Testament, there was teaching along the way. They were being taught the right things along the way, or the wrong things in some cases. But Isaac would have known that sin needs a sacrifice. He tested Abraham by sending him to do this. Very somber. That's the word I'm looking for. Genesis 22:8. Abraham said, God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering, my son. So they went both of them together. When they came to the place of which God had told him, Abraham built the altar there and laid the wood in order and bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar on top of the wood. Excuse me. Then Abraham reached out his hand and took the knife to slaughter his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. He said, Do not lay your hand on the boy or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, seeing that you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him was a ram, caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up as a burnt offering instead of his son. So Abraham called the name of that place, The Lord Will Provide, as it is said to this day, On the mount of the Lord it shall be provided. And the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time from heaven and said, By myself I have sworn, declares the Lord, because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son. I will surely bless you, and I will surely multiply your offspring as the stars of heaven, and as the sand that is on the seashore, and your offspring shall possess the gate of his enemies. I forgot about that part. Your offspring shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your offspring shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. It's really interesting there about maybe a thought about the whole covenant thing, the conditional covenant versus the unconditional covenant, because he's saying because he obeyed his voice. Anyway, so Abraham returned to his young men, and they arose and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham lived at Beersheba. Now after these things it was told to Abraham, Behold, Milcah also has borne children to your brother Nahor. Uz his firstborn, Buz his brother, Kemuel the father of Aram, Chesed, Hazo, Pildash, Jidlaph, and Bethuel. Bethuel fathered Rebekah. These 8 Milcah bore to Nahor, Abraham's brother. Moreover, his concubine, whose name was Reumah, bore Taba, Gahem, Tahash, and Makkah. So yeah, I mean, I know that this is a story that, of course, stands on its own and is very common to know even for non-believers. It does set up in a big way the next 2 familial events. So let's read Genesis 23. Sarah lived 127 years. These were the years of the life of Sarah. And Sarah died at Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. And Abraham went in to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abraham rose up from before his dead and said to the Hittites, I am a sojourner and a foreigner among you. Give me property among you for a burying place, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. And there's some significance to this passage so it's the Hittites. Is it Hamor? There's the sons of Heth. There's the sons of Hamor. We'll get to that in a second. There's the 3 burying places in the Old Testament. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's just 2, but let me start over. Sarah died at Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abram went in to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. And Abram rose up from before his dead and said to the Hittites, I am a sojourner and foreigner among you. Give me property among you for a burying place, that I may bury my dead out of my sight. The Hittites answered Abraham, Hear us, my Lord. You are a prince of God among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us will withhold from you his tomb to hinder you from burying your dead." Abraham rose and bowed to the Hittites, the people of the land. And he said to them, if you are willing that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me and entreat for me Ephron the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he owns. It is at the end of his field. For the full price, let him give it to me in your presence as property for a burying place. Now Ephron was sitting among the Hittites, and Ephron the Hittite, it's Ephron, but anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm just going to keep reading. Now Ephron was sitting among the Hittites, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the hearing of the Hittites, of all who went in at the gate of his city. No, my lord, hear me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. In the sight of the sons of my people, I give it to you. Bury your dead. Then Abraham bowed before the people of the land, and he said to Ephron in the hearing of the people of the land, but if you will hear me, I give the price of the field. Accept it from me, that I may bury my dead there. Ephron answered Abraham, my lord, listen to me. A piece of land worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that between you and me? Bury your dead. Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed out for Ephron the silver that... Okay, sorry, my eyes got really lost. Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed out for Ephron the... I keep wanting to say Ephraim too, because that name is so common later, but Abraham listened to Ephron, and Abraham weighed out for Ephron the silver that he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weights current among the merchants. So the field of Ephron in Machpelah, which was to the east of Mamre, the field with the cave that was in it, and all the trees that were in the field throughout its whole area, was made over. Whenever they go into that type of elaborate detail about the geography, there's something about it. There's some old, later in the Old Testament or in the New Testament, there's something very significant about this cave and this tomb. Throughout its whole area was made over. Genesis 23:18 was made over. Dang, making the verse break right in the middle of a sentence like that. 17. So the field of Ephron in Machpelah, which was to the east of Mamre, the field with the cave that was in it, and all the trees that were in the field throughout its whole area, was made over to Abraham as a possession in the presence of the Hittites before all who went in at the gate of his city. After this, Abraham buried Sarah, his wife, in the cave of the field of Machpelah east of Mamre, that is Hebron, in the land of Canaan. The field and the cave that is in it were made over to Abraham as property for a burying place by the Hittites. And now we have a very long chapter, 67 verses, I believe. We have the story of Isaac and Rebekah, and it ends with another word about Sarah, which is very interesting. So Sarah dies, and then remember, there's no chapter and verse in the Bible. It's all one story. I mean, until the book ends, then it's a different story. But the whole thing is his story, of course. Insert youth group pastor joke or whatever. But yeah, so he buys the cave. She's buried there mourning. Then it says, now Abraham was old. So forget about Genesis 24. It's just, this is the next word in the story. Now Abraham was old, well advanced in years, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said to his servant, the oldest of his household, who had charge of all that he had, put your hand under my thigh, that I may make you swear by the... What did that look like, and what was that? I'm sure I gotta find a Bible dorky sermon on that one, you know what I mean? put your hand under my thigh, that I may make you swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and God of the earth. The God, that's interesting, two articles. The God of heaven and God of the earth. That you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but will go to my country, into my kindred, and take a wife for my son Isaac. So I guess, I mean, is that mean that means like Iranian, Iraqi, right? I'm not sure what the people. So Abraham was a Semite, of course. He was Semitic, but he wasn't a Canaanite. So Rebecca and Isaac were still like Persian, or not Persian, not Iran. You want to say Iranian, but Iraqi, correct? Anyway. Not that all people groups looked and were the same. There's immense travel of people groups in the last 4,000 years or so since this event, but I'm just wondering. So halfway through verse 3, Genesis 24, that you will not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites among whom I dwell, but will go to my country and my kindred and take a wife for my son Isaac. The servant said to him, perhaps the woman may not be willing to follow me to this land. Must I then take your son back to the land from which you came? Abraham said to him, see to it that you do not take my son back there. The Lord, the God of heaven, who took me from my father's house and from the land of my kindred, and who spoke to me and swore to me, to your offspring I will give this land. He will send his angel before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. But if the woman is not willing to follow you, then you will be free from this oath of mine. Only you must not take my son back there. So the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. Then the servant took 10 of his master's camels and departed, taking all sorts of choice gifts from his master, and he arose and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. And he made, and this was a big deal. I mean, the city of Nahor, that's Abraham's brother, correct? And they trace this genealogy at the end of 22, like we just read, or 23, like one of them that we just read. And so he knows he's going to the city of his family, and he made the camels. And so he has all kinds of stuff, all kinds of camels. And then just a little, not foreshadowing, but if you guys have read the story we're about to get into, this task, this manual labor task that Rebecca is about to perform is like putting a sippy cup at the zoo up to the camel's face. Like, it's a intense manual labor task involving many, many hundreds of pounds of water. Anyway, all sorts of choice gifts from his master, and he arose and went to Mesopotamia, to the city of Nahor. And he made the camels kneel down outside the city by the well of water at the time of evening, the time when women go out to draw water. And he said, O Lord, God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today and show steadfast love to my master Abraham. Behold, I am standing by the spring of water, and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. Let the young woman to whom I shall say, please let down your jar that I may drink, and who shall say, drink, and I will water your camels. Let her be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac. By this I shall know that you have shown steadfast love to my master. Before he had finished speaking, behold, Rebekah, who was born to Bethuel, the son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her water jar on her shoulder. The young woman was very attractive in appearance, a maiden whom no man had known. She went down to the spring and filled her jar and came up. Then the servant ran to meet her and said, please give me a little water to drink from your jar. She said, drink, my lord. And she quickly let down her jar upon her hand and gave him a drink. When she had finished giving him a drink, she said, I will draw water for your camels also until they have finished drinking. So she quickly emptied her jar into the trough and ran again to the well to draw water, and she drew for all his camels. The man gazed at her in silence to learn whether the Lord had prospered his journey or not. When the camels had finished drinking, the man took a gold ring weighing a half shekel and 2 bracelets for her arms weighing 10 gold shekels, and said, excuse me, a lot of reading, and said, please tell me whose daughter you are. Is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? She said to him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, whom she bore to Nahor. She added, we have plenty of both straw and fodder, and room to spend the night. The man bowed his head and worshipped the Lord, and said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham. Man. Sorry, guys. It's just, I don't know, like the response there is just, it's just awesome, man. I don't know what's getting me about it, but I mean, I hate to do this on air. I've only teared up a couple times over the years, but man, the way that God like aligns history and just looks after his people. And it's like this guy can't believe it still. And he prayed for this exact thing. And it's even better than he expected. And this guy was a sinner, you know what I mean? Like this guy was a sinner. We're all sinners. This guy was a sinner. He knew who his Lord was, and yeah, I don't know. There's just something so powerful about the response there. It really gets me, man. It's hard for me. It's gonna be hard for me to upload this because it's kind of embarrassing or whatever. But it's like the things of God and repentance and his greatness, but also his goodness. You know, like that's what this story kind of is about to me. Like his greatness as he aligns history. He made the camels to thirst, you know, and much more than that. But also his goodness of his personal. I mean, we'll get at the end of it. I mean, let's just keep reading, and I'll reveal at the end like why this touches me so much. But he said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his steadfast love and his faithfulness toward my master. As for me, the Lord has led me in the way to the house of my master's kinsman. Yeah, and it's like I came all this way, and it's like he knew he was going to Abraham's family's house, to his city, but this one woman was of his the same seed of his master, you know. As for me, the Lord has led me in the way to the house of my master's kinsman. Then the young woman ran and told her mother's husband about these things, and she's, I'm sure, shocked too. You know, he's like, the woman that you send, let her be. It was exactly what he prayed for. Then the young woman ran and told her mother's household about these things. Rebecca had a brother whose name was Laban. This guy will come up many times later. Laban ran out toward the man to the spring. As soon as he saw the ring and the bracelets on his sister's arms, and heard the words of Rebekah his sister, thus the man spoke to me. He went to the man, and behold, he was standing by the camels at the spring. He said, "Come in, O blessed of the Lord." It's funny how your shade or your presuppositions about Laban later, or mine, I should say, cloud what's happening here. Like I'm wondering whether Laban has ulterior motives, or if he's being disingenuous here because of what I know about him later. And I guess I should probably just erase that for now and pretend I'm reading it in order. Maybe not. I don't know. That's like a hermeneutic thing that I have to think about. Laban said, "Come in, O blessed of the Lord. Why do you stand outside? For I have prepared the house and a place for the camels." So the man, this is Abraham's servant, came to the house and unharnessed the camels and gave straw and fodder to the camels. And there was water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. Excuse me. Sorry, let me just get rid of that. I don't have a Kleenex. It's kind of gross. Anyway, no, that's all right. I'll get through it. 30 verses, then I'm going to like do a big snot rocket somewhere. So, and we're halfway through 32 right now, Genesis 24:32. And there was water to wash his feet and the feet of the men who were with him. The food was set before him to eat, but he said, "I will not eat until I have said what I have to say." He said, "Speak on." So he said, "I am Abraham's servant. The Lord has greatly blessed my master, and he has become great. He has given him flocks and herds, silver and gold, male servants and female servants, camels and donkeys." By the way, not to kind of go off on the whole like slavery, bondservant, servitude, doulos thing or whatever, but people will say that like all slavery is bad, is inherently bad all the time because like their textbook said so or whatever. But these servants, male servants and female servants that are given that they're talking about here, these are slaves. Some of these are war slaves, man. These are not like servants. Like, this is not your butler, okay? This is not your voluntary butler that you pay, okay? These are slaves. God blessed Abraham with the following property. Can God give a bad thing? If it's a bad thing, can it be from God? No. It can't. I mean, I know that is philosophical. That requires reason. I mean, all the scripture, everything we're doing requires reason. And there's a logical proof. It doesn't say in the Bible, slavery is good. You know, and I'm not saying slavery is good all the time. I'm saying that God cannot give a bad thing. God is all good, all holy. And there he has blessed Abraham. Blessed my master. He has become great. He has given him male servants and female servants, camels and donkeys. So anyway, now, I mean, just like a camel or a donkey, a camel or a donkey can be bad, but I'm just saying those servants, those words servants, that's a slave, okay? That is a person that is owned for life, okay? And they can't leave. And anyway, you guys get it. The trad people know, they're like, move on, bro. The blue-pilled people are like, oh my gosh, what are you talking about? I have no idea who the ratio is. So anyway, 24:36, 30 verses to go. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old. This is still in the middle of the servant speaking here. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old, and to him he has given all that he has. My master made me swear, saying, "You shall not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell. But you shall go to my father's house and to my clan and take a wife for my son." I said to my master, "Perhaps the woman will not follow me." But he said to me, "The Lord, before whom I have walked, will send his angel with you and prosper your way. You shall take a wife for my son from my clan and from my father's house. Then you will be free from my oath when you come to my clan. And if they will not give her to you, you will be free from my oath. I came today to the spring and said, O Lord, the God of my master Abraham, if now you are prospering the way that I should go, behold, I am standing by the spring of water. Let the virgin who comes out to draw water, to whom I shall say, Please give me a little water from your jar to drink, and who will say to me, Drink, and I will draw for your camels also. Let her be the woman whom the Lord has appointed for my master's son. Behold, I had finished speaking in my, Before I had finished speaking in my heart, So it's like he's not even saying the words. He's like thinking the thought, and she comes out. Behold, Rebekah came out with her water jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the spring and drew water. I said to her, please let me drink. I believe also they had to go down steps as well. So she's like doing stairs, bro. This woman's doing like stairs with. I saw some study on. I believe the word 70 pounds rings a bell. The 70, it's either like 70 or 55 or like 120. So anyway, and she watered all the camels. You know, not to be a feminist or whatever, but it is kind of just impressive. It's hearty. It's hearty, it's healthy. It's like where you pinch the fat of the slave before you buy him, you know? Before I'd finished, we're never going to get through this. Before I'd finished speaking in my heart, behold, Rebekah came out with her water jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the spring and drew water. I said to her, please let me drink. She quickly let down her jar from her shoulder and said, drink, and I will give your camels drink also. So I drank, and she gave the camels drink also. Then I asked her, whose daughter are you? She said, the daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. So I put the ring on her nose and the bracelets on her arms. Then I bowed my head and worshipped the Lord and blessed the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who had let me by the right way to take the daughter of my master's kinsman for his son. Now then, if you are going to show steadfast love and faithfulness to my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, the thing has come from the Lord. We cannot speak to you bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before you. Take her and go, and let her be the wife of your master's son, as the Lord has spoken. When Abraham's servant heard their words, he bowed himself to the earth before the Lord. And the servant brought out jewelry of silver and of gold, and garments, and gave them to Rebekah. He also gave to her brother and to her mother costly ornaments. And he and the men who were with him ate and drank, and they spent the night there. And they arose in the morning. It's really hard to read all this, man. You try to do it. When they arose in the morning, he said, send me away to my master. Her brother and her mother said, let the young woman remain with us a while, at least 10 days. After that she may go. But he said to them, do not delay me, since the Lord has prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. They said, let us call the young woman and ask her. And they called Rebekah. What's the significance of just like the 10 days? I know there's theological significance to like when the Lord says to go, like right away, do not tarry. But what's with the 10? Were they trying to get her to stay like permanently, but we're just saying 10 days or something like that? I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe it's Laban later, but the scheming and Milcah is the mom. I don't know. But I need to learn more. My mom got me this cool Genesis commentary book for Christmas the other year. I'm going to look up this specific passage. Let us call the young woman and ask her, 58. And they called Rebekah and said to her, will you go with this man? She said, I will go. So they sent away Rebekah their sister and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rebekah and said to her, our sister, that you may become thousands of 10,000s, and may your offspring possess the gate of those who hate him. And they said that earlier too. Then Rebekah and her young women arose and rode on the camels and followed the man. Yeah, big operation. Yeah, just because it says they're going doesn't mean it was a small operation. Thus the servant took Rebekah and went his way. Now Isaac had returned from Beer Lahai Roi and was dwelling in the Negeb. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field toward evening. And he lifted up his eyes and saw, and behold, there were camels coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from the camel, and said to the servant, "Who is that man walking in the field to meet us?" The servant said, "It is my master." So she took her veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. Then Isaac brought her into the tent of Sarah his mother, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. So Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So it's like he was almost sacrificed. His mom died, and then a wife was found for him, and that thus he was comforted. Now, I don't know how many years and stuff went between, but there's a reason that the Lord put these three events in succession. And I just think it's a beautiful story. And I think that, it's not to be like too sappy or romantic or whatever, but I mean, the Bible is a love story. The Bible is about God's son and his bride, and about sacrifice and hardship. And it is a love story. It is a romance story. So I wanted to read all that today. It was a long video. I thought it was good. I'm sorry for crying, man, but it's like, it's not like I stubbed my toe or what, but it's like, dude, that is just so profound to me. Like all that stuff aligning, and like that moment when you're like, you can't do anything but just know it's God and worship. I've had a lot of moments like that, man, where it's like you can't do anything other than acknowledge that it's God and worship. So since I'm tearing up again, we'll leave it at that. I love you.